Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing a breaking headline moment that signals a massive paradigm shift in the world of professional sports. Last night at Madison Square Garden, amidst the glitz of the NBA pregame show, Caitlin Clark stepped in front of the cameras and effectively seized the narrative of the entire WNBA labor crisis. While the current union leadership and other players are publicly hinting at strikes and posturing with hostility, Caitlin Clark delivered a calm, devastatingly clear ultimatum to the basketball world. She stated unequivocally that a resolution must be reached and that the priority is getting back on the court to play ball. This appearance has exposed a deep, fracturing split within the league, proving that while others play politics, Clark is playing for the future of the sport, leaving many to wonder why she isn't the one leading the negotiations. We have to talk about what happened last night because it was more than just a media appearance. It was a revelation. Caitlin Clark appeared on the NBC pregame broadcast ahead of the Knicks and Lakers showdown at Madison Square Garden. This is the biggest stage in basketball, the Mecca, and the optics were undeniable. Standing alongside NBA legends like Reggie Miller and Carmelo Anthony, the visual contrast was jarring in terms of physical stature, but her presence was absolutely commanding. She held her own, she controlled the room, and she delivered a performance that was polished, professional, and undeniably charismatic. But the real story isn't just that she was there. The real story is what she said when the pressure was applied regarding the collective bargaining agreement. Credit must be given to NBC for not shying away from the hard questions. They asked her about the current state of the WNBA, the labor negotiations, and the looming threat of a work stoppage. Her answer was a breath of fresh air in a room that has been suffocating from toxicity.
The WNBA has ever seen. Looking forward into the future, what would you like to see happen as you come to a negotiation?
Well, honestly, I don't think it's just a big moment for the WNBA. I think all of women's sports, I think this is one of the biggest moments we've ever had. So, I feel very confident that we're going to get something done, and that's because we're in this moment because of the product we put on the floor. So we need to be able to continue to do that, and I know everybody's working really hard. There's a meeting tomorrow that's super important, and I truly do believe we're going to get something done here in the next couple of weeks. But like you said, there's a lot of boxes that we still need to check. We've added two new teams. There's going to be more players than ever, and then we have to get into free agency, then have a normal draft as well. So there's a lot of things left to do, but I really do feel confident that both sides are going to reach a deal here soon.
Yeah, draft slated for April 13th, but the growth of the league has been so much. Can you just help us to understand the transition this league is going on right now?
It's incredible, and I remember my first WNBA game when I was a young girl. I went to the Minnesota Lynx when they had their dynasty with Maya Moore, and they were playing the Seattle Storm, and now basically any arena you go to, it's sold out. We're adding 2 teams. We're up to 14 now, and then hopefully getting to 18 in the next couple years. So, business is booming, and that's a really good thing, and we kind of just got to keep meeting the moment. The talent's getting better and better. You see it at the college level coming into the professional game, too. So I feel very fortunate, and hopefully have a long career ahead of me as well.
Clark made it very clear that the goal is a resolution. Her focus was entirely on the necessity of having a season, of honoring the expansion teams coming into the fold, and of actually playing basketball. There was no animosity in her voice. There was no threat. There was simply a business-minded, athlete-first declaration that the game must go on. This stands in absolute stark contrast to the rhetoric we have been hearing from other corners of the league. We have to look at the context here. Just a month ago, the players convened and voted on the ability to go on strike. By all accounts, it was a near unanimous decision to arm themselves with the option to shut the league down. Reports suggest only 3 players voted against that potential strike. One has to wonder, based on the comments made last night, if Caitlin Clark was one of those 3 voices of reason. While the union leadership prepares for a massive showdown with the owners, a meeting involving high-profile names like Kelsey Plum, Nafisa Collier, and Nneka Ogwumike, Clark is out there effectively marketing the product and telling the fans that she wants to play. The disconnect here is startling. We are seeing a real split amongst the player base. On one side, you have the faction represented by voices like Natasha Cloud, whose recent comments have been laced with hostility hostility toward the WNBA itself. We have seen players suggesting they don't even need the WNBA, that they can rely on the unrivaled league, and using platforms to launch attacks rather than build bridges.
Honestly, I'm just kind of like upset, frustrated, all of us, and in a lot of ways just like disgusted with the W and how they're handling this and their lack of value, their lack of worth for us, their lack of even trying to attempt to move the needle with us. Like, we know what is on the horizon. We know in 2 years our TV deal is up and there's a new TV deal that's going to come that they're not even putting on the table for us. The percentages, if we actually told you the percentages of what they're giving, that they're like sending to us, it would absolutely piss y'all off. Mm-hmm. So like, just know when we are standing firm in our feet and 10 toes down, there is a reason, and we will not move until y'all move. So I'm gonna look directly into the camera too. We will not move until y'all move. And it would be the worst business decision of any business to not literally pay the players that make your business go. Move without us, there is no W. And it would be the worst business. The pressure is on the any business on to not literally pay Adam, the players, everyone that is in that front office. Honestly,
The tone from that side of the aisle comes across as smug, entitled, and frankly unlikable to the average viewer. It is a strategy of burning down the house to get a better room. Then you have the Caitlin Clark approach. She understands something that the union leadership seems to be missing entirely. Likability and delivery matter. In the court of public opinion, you cannot win if the fans feel alienated by your message. Clark's discussion was centered on growth. She talked about the new expansion teams, the excitement of the game, and the fundamental need to be on the court. She acknowledges the boxes that need to be checked in the contract, but her delivery suggests a partnership with the league rather than a war against it. This raises the most critical question of this entire saga. How is Caitlin Clark not the president of the Players Union? When you listen to her speak, when you watch her navigate a national broadcast with millions watching, her ability to convey a message is superior to almost anyone else in the league. She has the ear of the public. She has the respect of the media. She has the economic leverage. Yet the players representing the league in these critical meetings are often the ones who seem to have made this personal, turning a business negotiation into a crusade that risks alienating the very audience they are trying to attract. The reality is that the WNBA has already offered a massive pay increase. The financial landscape of the league has changed largely because of the Caitlin Clark effect. And yet the response from the majority of the league has been animosity rather than gratitude or strategic cooperation. If the majority of the players conducted themselves with the professionalism and poise that Clark displayed last night, the ratings crisis wouldn't be a crisis at all. Viewership follows connection. People tune in to watch Caitlin Clark because she is compelling, yes, but also because she doesn't treat the audience or the league with disdain. We are looking at a situation where the message is getting lost because of the messenger. You can have valid grievances about travel or salary, but if you deliver those grievances with a sneer, the public tunes out. It is a basic rule of politics and business. Common sense and likability are your greatest assets. You can be the most skilled debater in the world, but if you aren't likable, you lose. Caitlin Clark is likable. She gets on that microphone, engages in a lucid, intelligent conversation, and people walk away thinking, I really like listening to her. That connection translates directly to dollars, to ratings, and to leverage in a negotiation. The other players, by contrast, seem to be operating in an echo chamber where aggression is mistaken for strength. They are talking about the unrivaled league as if it is a replacement for the WNBA, threatening the owners with the idea that they have other options. It is a high-stakes game of chicken. Today marks a pivotal moment with the big meeting between the WNBA owners and the Players Union representatives. We know the union reps are going in there with a mandate to fight, But the question remains whether Adam Silver will be present and how the NBA side of things views this turbulence. What Caitlin Clark did last night was undermine the militant stance of the union by simply being reasonable. She showed the world that not every WNBA player is looking for a fight. Some of them, the most important ones, are looking for a season. She effectively positioned herself as the adult in the room. While others are posting cryptic messages or aggressive sound bites, Clark is on NBC, wearing the brand, selling the game, and looking every bit the superstar that she is. The comparisons being thrown around regarding her game are significant, and they add to her weight in this discussion. Carmelo Anthony compared her to Luka Doncic. Others have drawn parallels to Steph Curry or Larry Bird. Reggie Miller is taking some heat for his comparisons, but the point is that she is being discussed in the same breath as the titans of the sport. She is the asset. She is the franchise. And for her to come out and publicly prioritize a resolution over a strike is a massive signal to the owners that they have an ally, or at least a pragmatic partner, in the league's biggest star. It is baffling to watch the rest of the league fail to capitalize on this. Instead of rallying behind her marketability and using her voice to lift all ships, there is this undercurrent of resentment. You can see it in the way the message is delivered by the other players. It feels personal. It feels like they are trying to prove a point rather than secure a bag. They are fighting for optics, asking the masses to look at us, look what we did, while Clark is simply saying, let's play. The stark difference in delivery cannot be overstated. One side has animosity, the other has ambition. One side is looking backward at past grievances. Clark is looking forward to expansion and the future. She did a hell of a job last night articulating that future. It was a masterclass in media training and brand management, and it highlights a massive inefficiency in the WNBA's player leadership structure. Why is the person with the best communication skills and the highest public approval rating not the one at the negotiating table? The players' union seems intent on a collision course. They have their vote, they have their strike authorization, they have their rhetoric, but they might be misreading the room. The public patience for million-dollar disputes in sports is thin, and it is even thinner for a league that has struggled to turn a profit for decades until Clark arrived. By threatening to take the ball and go home, or go to unrivaled, they risk stalling the momentum that has finally arrived. Clark seems to understand this fragility. She understands that the momentum is tied to the product being on the floor. Her comments about the expansion teams were particularly telling. It shows she is thinking about the macroeconomics of the league. More teams mean more jobs, more revenue, a larger footprint. A strike jeopardizes that expansion. A strike halts the integration of new markets. Clark sees the big picture. The others seem focused on the immediate emotional release of a confrontation. This split is the defining story of the offseason. It isn't just about money, it's about philosophy. It is about how the WNBA wants to present itself to the world during its moment of maximum visibility. Do they want to be seen as a league of partners working to grow the game, or a league of adversaries constantly at war with the structure that supports them? Caitlin Clark cast her vote last night on national television. She voted for growth. She voted for basketball. If the strike happens, if this meeting today goes south and the players decide to walk, it will be very interesting to see where Clark stands. Given her comments, it is hard to imagine her being the face of a work stoppage. She wants to play. And frankly, the fans want her to play. If the union forces a strike that sidelines Caitlin Clark, they will not be punishing the owners as much as they will be punishing their own future and the fan base that has finally shown up. The visual of her next to Reggie and Melo was symbolic. She belongs in that pantheon of game changers. But game changers don't just change the score, they change the business. Clark is trying to drag the WNBA business into the modern era of superstardom and massive media rights. The old guard, represented by the current union stance, seems stuck in an outdated model of labor relations that relies on antagonism. It is a tragedy of leadership that the league's most effective communicator has to make these points from the sidelines of an NBA game rather than from the head of the boardroom table. If the players were smart, they would put Caitlin Clark front and center of these negotiations. They would let her likability disarm the owners and win over the public. Instead, we get the Natasha Cloud approach, which rallies the base but alienates the undecided voter, so to speak. We are watching a power struggle for the soul of the WNBA. Is it a political movement or is it a professional sports league? Clark treats it like a professional sports league. She treats it like a job, a career, and a passion that requires execution on the court. The others treat it like a platform for grievances. Both can exist, but one pays the bills a lot better than the other. As we wait for news from this meeting between the owners and the players, with Kelsey Plum and the others walking into that room, we have to keep Clark's words in mind. We need a resolution. That wasn't a request, it was a directive from the most important asset the league has. If the union ignores that directive, if they push for a strike despite the massive opportunities on the table, they might find themselves isolated. The visual jarringness of the height difference on that set was nothing compared to the jarring difference in maturity levels between Clark's approach and the union's approach. She didn't need a step stool to stand tall in that conversation. She elevated the discourse simply by focusing on the sport. It was visually striking, yes, seeing her next to those giants, but intellectually, she was the one looking down on the petty squabbles that are holding the league back. Caitlin Clark proved last night that she is ready to carry the league, not just on the stat sheet, but in the public relations arena. The tragedy is that the rest of the league might be too proud or too stubborn to let her. They have made their vote. They have drawn their battle lines. But Clark just reminded everyone that the only line that matters is the sideline of a basketball court. And the only victory that counts is the one where the game is actually played. We will be watching closely to see if Adam Silver and the WNBA ownership group recognize this split. If they are smart, they will see that Clark represents a path forward that bypasses the toxicity of the current union leadership. She is the key. Last night, she turned that key. Now we have to see if the rest of the league is willing to walk through the door she just opened, or if they will slam it shut in a fit of misplaced pride. The reality is simple. The WNBA needs a season. They need the expansion teams. They need Caitlin Clark on the floor. Anyone arguing against that or putting obstacles in the way of that is actively working against the success of the league. Clark knows it. The fans know it. Now we wait to see if the players' union can figure it out before they destroy the momentum they spent decades building. She was fantastic last night, but she shouldn't just be a guest on a pregame show. She should be the voice of the entire movement. Until that happens, this disconnect, this split, and this crisis will continue to threaten the very game they claim to love.